Social psychologists began to wonder how dictators could transform rational individuals into blindly obedient masses. With the fate of the world in doubt, the answers seemed critically important. And so a team of researchers in the United States began to study the ways in which leaders directly affect their followers, and how groups change the behavior of individuals. The research team was led by Kurt Lewin, himself a refugee of Nazi Germany. Lewin wanted to demonstrate that it was possible to translate socially significant issues, like the power of leaders, into hypotheses and test them in controlled experiments. At a time when psychology was dominated by the study of rats in the laboratory, not people in the real world, Lewin's dynamic approach was a radical departure. It was the beginning of modern social psychology. Lewin and his colleagues were fascinated by the way dictators were able to mold the behavior of individuals by putting them into uniforms, giving them a new identity as part of the group. So in 1939, they set up a unique experiment to assess the effects of different leadership styles on the way people behaved in groups. They began by organizing 3 groups of boys meeting after school. Each group had a leader who was trained by the researchers to play 3 very different styles of leadership. When the men acted as autocratic leaders, they were to make all the decisions for the group. When they acted as laissez-faire leaders, their job was to allow complete freedom with almost no guidance. And when they acted as democratic leaders, they actively encouraged and assisted the group's decision-making. At the end of each 6-week period, the leaders switched groups. In other words, each group of boys was exposed to all 3 leadership styles under 3 different men. Under the autocratic leaders, the boys worked the hardest, but typically only when the leader was watching. They were more aggressive and hostile, and they showed more submission to the leader. They behaved like miniature fascists. When the groups experienced a laissez-faire leadership style, little was accomplished. The boys did the least amount of work and work of the poorest quality. Total freedom without guidance led to chaos. But when the groups were democratically run, they showed the highest levels of motivation and originality. There was more mutual praise and more playfulness. To the research team, the results were reassuring. Democratic leadership had worked best at a time when dictatorship was proving so successful in Europe. But there's also another powerful lesson here. Notice that it was leadership style and the social situations it created, and not the personality of the individuals involved, that were the critical factors in the experiment. This leads us to a central theme in social psychology, that social situations significantly control individual behavior. For Lewin, human behavior is always a function of the individual and the social environment. This means that the best and worst of human nature can often be brought out by manipulating some aspects of the social environment.